When working with Itamar, we actually had a $1.3 million revenue month. So literally increased from like being stuck at 300,000 a month all the way up to 1.3 million. So $1 million increase. So I blasted past my goal of 833,000 in a month. I have absolutely no doubts that we're going to be able to scale to much higher numbers than that. My name is Shane, and I have a couple different businesses, but the main one that Itamar really helped me with was my YouTube coaching program. And so that particular business is my YouTube consulting business, where I help typically business owners or like solopreneurs grow and make money on YouTube. It's like kind of like you say, having a handbrake on. It's like it doesn't matter how hard I push, like there's a handbrake on. So that's one thing, is like I was going like extreme monk mode, and I'd have to take breaks all the time. So I was like working long hours, but the effective work I was actually getting done is probably in some cases like 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a day max. The effective work I was actually getting done, even though I might have been working like 12-hour days, I wasn't actually getting that much work done. It kind of just goes back to the lack of energy and the fact that I kind of didn't trust myself to do certain things because of the fact that I had that lack of energy. I just knew that like I wasn't going to be able to handle certain situations because it felt like there was kind of a rock in the middle of my head. If anyone's ever suffered from brain fog and that kind of thing, yeah, it just felt like there was kind of fog in my head and just a rock in the middle of my head. And I would just get tired the moment I would do something that took a lot of mental energy, something extremely creative or something that requires a lot of deep thinking. My brain would just shut down. I had been trying to scale. I had a goal to hit $833,334 a month, because if you multiply that by 12, that's 10 million a year, right? So I had a goal to hit an $833,334 month. And I had that goal for probably about 2 years before I started working with Itamar, and I just couldn't hit it. I just wasn't able to hit it. And I'd been kind of stalled around that $300,000 a month mark. And when working with Itamar, within the next year, we were probably less than a year, significantly less than a year. I think it was maybe like 6 months after, maybe 7, 8 months, something like that. Some like a very short time afterwards, we actually had a $1.3 million revenue month. So literally increased from like being stuck at 300,000 a month all the way up to 1.3 million. So $1 million increase. So I blasted past my goal of 833,000 in a month. Before, I was tired, scattered, lost. Yeah, I'd say those three things. And after going through the program, I had energetic, focused, and confident. Basically, it became quite obvious that it was smart to sign up for his program, because I pretty much immediately went from like 2 hours a day of effective energy up to like 6 to 8 hours. And now it's to the point where I have kind of a ridiculous amount of energy. It's like I almost feel like I'm in my early 20s again. In terms of lifestyle, like I can't imagine living a better lifestyle. This is like my ideal lifestyle. I live in like basically a pet house with an amazing view of the Pacific Ocean. I travel 6 months out of the year. I have a totally online business. It does not require me to be in person. I have a great social life now. Like the lifestyle is exactly what I want it to be. And I couldn't ask for anything better. When I think of like who in the entire world, all different industries, has the best mindset and performance out of anybody, I think of professional athletes, and I think of probably like special forces type people. And Itamar, former professional athlete, former special forces. So he like when I saw that like somebody like that was doing kind of a mindset and performance type program, I'm like, okay, I was pretty much sold already right there. Because I have a ton of respect for military. I have a ton of respect for professional athletes, and I think that when it comes to mindset and performance, there's just nobody who performs at a higher level than those two categories. To be completely honest with you, I think a lot of entrepreneurs actually have pretty weak mindset, including myself at sometimes. I found somebody who's both in one. So it's like perfect. right? So that was the reason I think. And then of course, I knew people that had also taken your program and that kind of stuff. I was, yeah, in a group of people who'd already taken it, and so that helped too. But I'd say that's the biggest reason. That's why I actually listen, because I'm a bit stubborn sometimes. So that's another reason why I like to pay for coaching, is because like if I respect the other person, I'm actually going to listen to what they say. Whereas somebody else might tell me the exact same thing and I just don't listen to them because I just don't have that level of respect for them, right? I was actually expecting you to be kind of like a bit of a drill sergeant, and it turned out that you were much more kind of gentle, and I thought that was quite interesting as a coach, as somebody who coaches myself, like consults with people, and then as someone who's worked with a lot of coaches. Um, and yeah, I mean, you just see things very clearly, strategically, logically, and you kind of just see like paths to victory. As an entrepreneur, there is an unlimited amount of things you could do. There's a million plus different things you could do with your time, effort, and money. And so being able to see things strategically and choose one of the best paths, if not the best path to victory, is just unbelievably important. And that's what Itamar is going to help you do. He's going to help you brainstorm those paths to victory, and just in a way where totally non-judgmental, totally open-minded. I told Itamar a few things about my personality that are a little bit dark, right? I told him a few things that are a bit dark, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have these a little bit dark aspects to their personality. And he was totally non-judgmental about that. And this is a place where you can be open about those things. I like how I will forever have kind of an operating system for how to figure out what the next phase of my life needs to be. I'll forever, from now on, I'll have a system where I can think like very systematically about, okay, what's my current situation? What are the problems I have right now? What are the goals that I want to achieve? What do I actually want to do with my life? Is it money wise, or is it lifestyle wise? Like what do I want to do? And then what are the things I need to do? Just very systematically, almost like a computer program, or an operating system, just like breaking down and each little step and figuring out the steps I need to take to get to the goal that I want to achieve. And that's something I'll always have forever now with me, is the ability to kind of like think about that systematically. And it's something that I already was like that a little bit before. But this just took it to a very like there's just zero ambiguity. It's like every single step is broken down. It's like you cannot possibly have any questions outside of like all those steps that are broken down. There might be a few exceptions, but pretty much all of them are entrepreneurs. um, that's a great crowd to be around. People that are interested in elite performance and they're also entrepreneurs. That's an amazing crowd of people to be around. So you're gonna naturally, when you come to these live events, you're gonna naturally make friends with a bunch of people, and form like little masterminds with people. So I still talk to a lot of people that were at a bunch of these different live events, and I have a couple little masterminds going on. Like one guy, for instance, that was at the live event. We're both quite interested in hiring executives specifically. We were at that phase in our businesses where we're really looking for executives, and we formed a mastermind, and we even had another person come into the mastermind. So I actually got a really good friend of mine who's an entrepreneur to literally move in the apartment right next to me. And this is somebody who's had like $100 million in exits. So he's like super, high level entrepreneur. And so I've been like masterminding with him all year. And these are as a direct result of like the actions that we took, that when we wrote down what we needed to do. I would recommend this to entrepreneurs who want to upgrade their mindset and upgrade their performance. Um, I think that's pretty straightforward. Entrepreneurs are people who are in entrepreneurial type endeavors. So I think like a professional poker player, professional investors, maybe like an actor, someone who's trying to like rise up the ranks in Hollywood, something like that, or a politician or something. I think all those types of people would have a ton of success just with how systematically he breaks things down in a stepwise fashion to achieve your goals. I think all those people would be great candidates for this. But I think like the main types of people would be entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs that want to upgrade their mindset and performance because it's honestly like I know I already said this before, but entrepreneurs, amazingly so, have extremely weak mindsets in many cases. Surprisingly weak mindsets. Especially after they've made their first little bit of money and they have that kind of a bit of financial freedom, they're not feeling the pressure anymore, and that they're a lot of the time like they needed that pressure. They needed that pressure of being poor or being stuck in a job they hate in order to escape that. But then after they get out of that, a lot of the time they just lose steam. They just lose steam because they don't really have like a higher reason for continuing to push themselves forward. And so I think all those people would be really good candidates for the program. I would definitely jump in and try to get some of his time and expertise now before it's probably going to get to a point very quickly that like he's just not going to be available to be worked with as closely as he was able to work with me. So I would honestly jump in as quickly as you can because I could see him easily tripling or quadrupling his prices at some point very soon in the future. So that's just my 2 cents. I really think you should do it. So yeah, definitely jump in now, and you will not be disappointed. There's absolutely no way you're not going to get an ROI from this. It's probably going to end up saving you, for me, probably like 100 times, maybe even significantly more than that, 100 times more time. And it's going to save you, like, you're going to have way more energy if you're in a situation like I was in, right? So, and plus, you're going to be spending your time doing things that are actually important and actually move you towards your goals and get your business forward. So, yeah, without a doubt, just jump into it. Just jump into it. It really doesn't take that much time, to be honest. That's one thing I was worried about. I think that's probably one of the most common things entrepreneurs think because we're all like we have a lot of stuff going on. We might have energy issues like I had. I had a lot of time and energy issues. And it really doesn't take that much time. And much more importantly, you can't really afford to not do it. Right. So when it comes to money, time, and energy, and just effort in general, and just avoiding a lot of headaches, I guess you could say, you really can't afford to not do it because the sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to fix those issues and you're going to be able to just skyrocket in the future, right? So like I'm probably going to be working with Itamar hopefully on and off like over the next like 10, 20 years in my career. Like so if I ever run into bottlenecks and that kind of thing that the tools that I already have can't fix, which I'm sure I'm going to be able to fix most of them just with the operating system I have, but I'm probably going to be working with Itamar for the next like 10, 20 years. That's my plan on and off. So, whenever I have any bottlenecks and stuff like that I run into, so yeah, you really can't afford to not do it. It's just an absolute no brainer to do it.